Welcome to Detangle, where we untangle the complexities of life, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Dr. Kinjal Goel, a psychologist and a writer. We have with us a young and inspiring designer, Shahin Mannan. Welcome, Shahin. It's so lovely to have you with me on the show today.
Thank you, Dr. Kinjal. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So, Shahin, tell us something about yourself.
Well, as you know, you have already introduced me like I'm a fashion designer, and I've been a part of Lakme Fashion Week, and I've been doing runway shows for a couple of years now. And I love blending art with fashion and creating designs that makes people feel confident and unique.
How lovely. And I can vouch for that because I'm one of your biggest fans. So, let's keep the fangirl moment aside and get into the conversation.
Yeah.
So, Shine, tell me more about the brand. How many stores do you have? How do you do most of your sales? Is it online, offline? Where all is your presence felt right now? And what is the future of the brand looking like?
So we have three stores now. Like one, like I mentioned earlier, we have one in Ambavata, one Delhi. We have one in Kalagoda, Mumbai, and one in Hyderabad. So we have three stores, and we are planning to have more focus on our brand now in terms of the presence. Because if you see earlier, we were at multi brand stores,
Right.
and if you go there, you will find just like 15, 20, 25 designs in one time. Now, if you visit our stores, you'll see variety of designs. Like there are hundreds and hundreds of design there, and we are doing men's, women's both. So that ways, we want to reach more to the client.
Got it. Lovely. Well, Shaheen, design is a field that tempts a lot of creative people, but very few actually make it to the big leagues. Very few people can actually make money out of their passion. What inspired you to choose fashion design? Did any particular person or event inspire you?
At the first place, I never thought of becoming a fashion designer. It just happened to me, but I always had that creative streak in me. Like I was always doing things very differently and creatively since the start, since my childhood, I would say that. And as I said, I'm very ambitious since the start. So the inspiration, I think, came from within to be able to do things differently and something in life that can give me existence as an artist.
Well, how lovely is that? Because clothes are actually art that we can wear. So it's a beautiful transition.
Yeah.
Shine, do you read a lot of stories? Because every time I see a piece by you, I feel like something is going on. There's a narrative. There is something which is beginning and ending. So tell
Yeah,
me.
that's definitely there. But, I must tell you that I don't read much. But yeah, I'm always drawn to visuals, whether it's an image, any scenery I see, like I go to places, I notice a lot of things, or if it's just any object, I get lost in the details, like how it works, or small, small detailings you see there, right? How it works, how the light is falling on any object or anything, and how it reflects, the color that it shows like. So I start making up stories around these things because that's when my imagination starts to flow, and you will notice those small details in my work too.
Very interesting. I also see that a lot of your work is inspired by travel. So are these made for the inspired traveler or as a personal ode to something that you love?
I think it's an ode to very specific kind of an inspired traveler, the one who travels to deepen their soul, people who are on a journey to discover their true self and have constant desire to learn and grow. I'm sure you're one of them. If you're traveling, you're not traveling just for food and fun, and you're traveling for your experience that you want to gain as a person and
Oh, yes.
enrich your soul.
Because you never know what you're going to learn and where. These are things you can't plan.
Yes.
So I also noticed that when I see your designs, they're anything but predictable. So in most designers, you know what the next season might look like. But with you, your designs are fun, they're quirky, and they're yet luxe. So how do you mix all this? Matlab, there's so many emotions in a single piece. How do you put it together?
Okay. Thanks. I really appreciate that. Honestly, I just enjoy mixing, different elements and letting the design come together naturally. For me, it's a very natural process. I don't put in a lot of effort to if I have to create something. For me, it's more about how each piece makes you feel when you wear it, rather than making the whole collection look the same.
Right.
I love adding a bit of fun and quirky elements to each outfit and then balancing it with a touch of luxury. Like I said earlier, I want people to appreciate my work. And in this way, I always feel connected to the person who wears it. Just to give you an example, Kinjal, you already have a few of our pieces, right? And I bet when you wear them, you feel that connection to the brand or get a sense of the emotion behind it.
Oh, yes, definitely. And I look forward to wearing them more because they're so comfortable.
That's lovely.
So, Shaheen, when you started out all those years ago, was it scary? Was the audience receptive from the beginning? Or did you have to spend time understanding the mind of the consumer?
Um, I wouldn't say it was scary, but I always uh, I have always known that the consumer wants something that is different and has a voice of its own. I came with a lot of experience in my craft because before I started the brand, and I feel it's so important in any profession to have that deep knowledge and understanding of what you do. Only then I think you can get the work done right or do it yourself. So these days, I see a lot of young designers fresh out of college who are in a rush to start their own label or brand and want everything quickly. But they need to understand that, it's not just about the design, it's about how the product feels to the wearer and in terms of quality and finishing. And that comes from experience.
Right. So, do you think it's important for youngsters to work under somebody for a while?
Yeah, it should be like, they should have experience for about, I will not say number of years, but definitely because what you learn in college and what you learn when you are working with somebody or with some brand, you are just polishing your craft where you get better understanding of everything. And when you start a label, it becomes very easy that time that because you know what's going to work for you, what's not going to work for you.
True. So, Shaheen, do you think that a formal degree matters for designers? Nowadays, the thought is quite different. People say, why restrict yourself with a degree when you can just go creative and go all out? What is your take on this?
I think formal degree is not the only path to success, I would say, but it's definitely gives you basic structure that helps designer understand fundamental design principles better.
So, you would prefer that everyone at least gets a basic degree and
The
then
basic degree, yeah, I think it helps. It could be 1 year diploma, 6 month course, or anything because it gives you that. Again, I said like the fundamental design principle that you understand that better that
Mm,
way.
right. So, through your work, have you seen any, solid changes coming in with respect to consumers? For example, now social media, although it has been around for a while, but now it's everywhere. So, do you think consumers are demanding something different now?
I don't think so. They're demanding something extra or anything else. It's just that they're looking for an authentic product. What I feel like now they're more aware about a copy or any kind of plagiarism. But I feel they're looking for something authentic, something they can own and uh, restore for a longer time.
Right. And do you recall any moment that you would like to define as the happiest moment for you as a designer?
Uh, this is very interesting, I would say. The happiest moment for me was the day when I opened our first flagship store in Amavata 1, Delhi. And it happened at the same time my daughter was born.
Oh, wow.
So I always felt like I delivered two babies, one a labor of love and the other a labor of hard work, I would say. So, yeah, that was my happy moment.
How lovely is that? So, Shaheen, if you had to give a piece of advice to your 13-year-old self, if you were to meet 13-year-old Shaheen, what would you tell her?
Uh, I will tell myself that don't seek for people's validation and say no to the situation that you don't want to be in. That's it.
Well, yeah, that's important because at that time, at that age, I think we all want just that one gold star, that
Yeah.
one tick, that one pat on the back. But as we grow older, we probably realize that it's okay. Not everyone's going to be happy with you, and
Yeah.
you're not happy with everyone anyway. So,
Yeah.
Tell me about your creative process. Do you think that your moods affect the way you design? Has there ever been a phase where you're not feeling as upbeat, but you still have to create something fresh? Do you also hit a creative block? Talk to me about this whole process.
Uh, yes, sometimes, but there are many ways now we can refresh ourselves. Like, we can take a short break or change of scenery always helps. So for me, I think if I take a weekend off and go to a place, any place like very close to nature, I refresh myself and I'm always rejuvenated when I'm back. And then I think my mental block is definitely gone. Being with nature helps me a lot.
Ah, nice. So, do you also feel that when you're in a certain mood, your resulting designs also reflect that, and only you know, "Arey, haan, I designed this when I was feeling a certain way."
Yeah, I think the design process, because if you look at our designs, they're all very different. They're not very identical to each other. So I think some days, we all have good, bad, ugly days. So some days when you're good, you I'm creating something that I know, like, it is coming out from that mood. But sometimes, like, I'm not feeling that motivated, but still, because I want to break that, uh, what I want to break that the rut, of course. So then when I'm designing, I know I'm in that mood, but yeah, then that creative process myself, it gives me that mood lift and helps me, I think, design better probably.
Very interesting. So, tell me, like, has there ever been a time when you have really enjoyed making a design, but the design didn't get the same love in the market? Any experience in that?
Uh, I don't think so. I think I've been lucky that way. And I hope and pray that that never happens. Fingers crossed, I would
Fingers
say.
crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Is the fashion industry, Shaheen, still very male dominated, or are women now being treated with the same respect and deference?
Mm, I think our industry is pretty balanced that ways.
Hmm.
There seem to be a good mix of both men and women designers. If you see, like there's Ritu Kumar, there's Rohit Bal, there is Anamika Khanna, there is Tarun Telyani. So don't think gender being an issue here, because I think when it comes to the consumer, they don't see, if they're buying anything, if it's designed by a male designer or female designer. I think they go by what they like. They go by the choice of the design rather than thinking of a designer first.
And
They
in the
have to like.
production process, I mean, when you're producing something, when you're dealing with your artisans, is it still balanced?
Artisan, I would not say that it's the same here in the factory, because here, like, mostly there are men who are doing this craft. Like the hand embroiderers are mostly men, so even the tailors are mostly men, the masters are men. So only women here is doing, who is doing hemming and probably who is cutting thread. But here I always try, like, wherever I can find that female staff, like in terms of my executive staff, I have majorly female working here. And the way they boss around with these people, it's kind of funny. You should come and visit us sometime. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's how we can balance sometimes, because for me, like, I always feel, if sometimes, these कार्य would come to me कि मैडम ने ऐसे बात करती, मैं then I always say, अगर आपसे सर ऐसे बात करते हैं तो you didn't have a problem, but now this ma'am is talking to you like that, you have a problem. So please don't look at her that she's a girl or a lady, just see that she's a senior and she's telling you something always. So with gradually I'm able to get that culture in my office where they get the equal respect as men, for sure, and me being a woman. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a soft balance, where you
It's,
create that power play which is even, but it takes a little while for it to seep in.
yes, it took a little while, but then eventually I think it's pretty it's pretty much there in my office, at least.
So, Shaheen, I've noticed that so many designers in their stores keep very small sizes. People can't even zip up the outfits when they're trying them on. It's not a very good feeling. But in your stores, there's usually something for every size. So, is that something that you have focused on with respect to larger sized women?
um of course, because I feel when you're making a sample, right? Earlier, initially, when I go back to my initial years, we always made samples in small sizes. But with time, we realized there are people, there clients who looking for sizes which are bigger or maybe smaller than that. So we started making our sample in different sizes. And even when we try that on model and we get the shoot done, it's always in those sizes, and we mention that on our website. So, of course, it helped us cater to more, more sizes.
So I think, Shahin, this is a very basic sense of body positivity where there is a size for everyone. There is something you can try and then you can get it altered to, maybe going bigger or smaller, which is very comforting, if I might add. Also, the fabrics that you use seem to be quite natural. Are you also focused on the sustainability angle?
Sustainability angle, yes, definitely, but in my own way, where we don't overproduce. So we only make one sample each design and put it there at the store, and we try not to sell that sample, because that ways we can generate orders and make it to the size the client is wanting to buy. So yeah, this is our way of being sustainable.
It's quite important actually because overproduction, overconsumption, everything adds up.
Yeah, it adds up to a lot of things, and it's, we can do wherever I can do play my part as a designer, where I can help the mother earth, I will do that, and I'm doing my bit.
How lovely. Now, let me ask you this question, which is always eating at my head when I'm talking to a creative person. AI has arrived and in a big way. AI is impacting writing, it is impacting creativity in so many forms. But do you think it will impact the fashion industry also in a large way soon?
No, I don't think so. If it comes to creative areas like designing, it can never give that personal touch and can never have that emotion attached to it. So AI can never replace anything which is creative.
So at least that's heartwarming to know that the creative aspect should be handled by humans, but maybe the production will get easier eventually as we have more and more maybe technology stepping in.
Maybe I've never tried that, so I'm hoping it will, but then it should not, because there are a lot of people, you know, who will be laid off, because if AI will start functioning better or more, so it is not good for the economy at all.
I think it will be one of those luxuries soon to have something made by human hand, something we take for granted.
Yeah, luxury is always, if you see, it's about, what your hands can create, what the art can create. Like even if you if you cook something with your hand, like, and if something is machine made, like if something is cooked in machine, so you know the difference, you know the taste, you know the texture is different. So it's the same.
Right, correct. Nothing can replace that little mistake. And like we spoke during the recording of the podcast, those little mistakes are the things that make us human.
Yes.
Now, Shine, let me ask you a question that I absolutely love myself. It's a question I ask all my podcast guests. We all have a physical first aid box at home, right? Where we keep some band-aids, some painkillers, for those minor cuts and bruises. But what if you were to have a mental first aid box where you could put whatever made you happy? The minute you opened it, it makes you smile. What would you personally put in your box?
So, if you remember, there is a beautiful song, sung by late Lata Mangeshkar ji, Humko Man Ki Shakti Dena.
Would love
I'm sure you know. So it's more of a prayer than a song, though. So I want to keep that in my first aid box, because this song has always given me Man Ki Shakti. And I always switch to this song whenever I'm feeling low or I want to smile or anything, that motivation I need in my life. So I want to have this prayer in that box.
How nice. It just seems like such a soulful and wholesome thing to have for your mental
Yeah.
health.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Before we come to the end of our discussion, Shaheen, before we come to our closing remarks, is there any question that you have for me as a psychologist?
I think, let me think. Acha, tell me one thing. Since I'm a working mom, so how can working moms deal with the guilt of not spending enough quality time with the kids?
Wow, that's from one working mom to another.
Yes. So, I'm it's very difficult for me, because, I'm working, I'm a workaholic. I work almost 10 hours a day now. Earlier it was 16, now 10 hours a day because, I have to give that whatever time I have to my daughter. So, and she's still very small. She is 3.5 years old. And yeah, and I feel like, she needs me all the time. So sometimes not being there, so I am always in some guilt.
Well, I can answer this in two ways. One is personally and one is professionally. As a psychologist, I would say children need their parents and not just their moms. They need both parents as much as they can get their time while they're growing up. Of course, it's not
Hmm.
possible to be around them 24/7.
Yeah.
It's also important to know that when you're working, you're setting a very good example for your daughter. So she is not just reading about successful women, she is being
Ah,
by one.
I never thought that way. It's so interesting.
And she will, when she grows up and she says, oh, you know what, this is normal. It's normal for a mom to be working, to be bringing in the money, to be using her creativity
Wow.
and being responsible. As long as you're keeping her safe, well fed, and her emotional needs in check, she will be grateful for it later on. Don't let anybody guilt you into it because guilt is free. People will be talking about mothers who are not working and saying, oh, look at her, she's sitting at home playing with a phone or, just browsing on Instagram all the time. Those are also not good examples for children, right? So those women are also given the guilt. Although I tell them also, if you are doing this and it's the best thing for you, don't be guilty about it. The world will talk.
Yeah.
On a more personal note, I have two teenagers, both girls. And I have found it to be a privilege to be a part of their lives as they are growing up. I have learned a lot from them, and that's because I've had the privilege of spending time with them. I've always made it a point that I start my day early, but I end by the time they're back from their school so that I can spend that time. In fact, they have inspired me for the podcast. They have inspired so many of my guests.
How lovely.
They come up with these random conversations, and I'm like,
Wow.
oh, this is the person I want to talk to.
How old are they?
My older one is 16 and my younger one is 14.
Wow.
So it's been a very good process for me. I've been able to balance, but I won't be able to say this for everyone because everyone's processes are different, right?
Yeah.
Your requirements are different. If you have the privilege of time, please use it with your children. If not, don't be guilty about it. And use that time very, very wisely. Make sure that the children know that this is the time mom is going to be there for us. And that's enough. They learn to make the most of it. And don't let anybody guilt you into too much time, too less time, quality time, quantity time. There is no manual, there's no user guide to perfect.
Yes. Yes. How lovely. I think I'm very sorted in terms of that guilt was always killing me. So
She'll be grateful. Don't worry. As she grows up, she will be grateful for having a strong, working, creative mom.
how nice.
Well, it's been very interesting, Shahin, talking to you about things which were personal questions to me. Like I told you at the beginning when we were having our little chat before the recording. These are not questions that I have cooked up for, a discussion to be recorded, but these are questions I had in my mind because I've enjoyed your process without even having met you. But
Yes.
you've been able to put your personality as art into fabric, which has made people happy, which has made a special place in the art world, in the fashion world. And I'm so glad that I could ask you about, how you work and how you plan to grow in your brand. So thank you so much for giving me so much time and being on my podcast today.
Thank you, Kinjal. I think the pleasure was all mine. I had a great time speaking to you about everything we spoke.
Well, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.